All right, guys, buckle up because we're diving into one of the most explosive moments in daytime TV. We're talking about the time Whoopi Goldberg went head-to-head with Judge Jeanine Pirro on The View. And it was, just absolutely wild.
So I'm invited to The View to talk about my new book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, The Case Against the Anti-Trump Conspiracy. And, the publisher said, you want to go to The View? I said, of course I'll go to The View. I like Whoopi. I like them. I have no problem talking about my book. So I go there. And, the first segment was relatively calm. And, I got the transcript. And one of the things I said was, one of the things we need now, we need people to talk to people who ostensibly hate each other. It's time we sat down and had a conversation. And Whoopi, interrupted and said, now? Oh, I'm so glad. But anyway, that was almost prescient. The second segment, after some small talk, we had, I was making small talk. I was, happy to discuss my book. Right? And then we came back and it was, no holds barred.
Picture this setting. It all started like any typical day at The View. Where personalities collide and sparks are pretty much guaranteed to fly. But on this particular day, it wasn't just sparks. It was a full-blown fireworks display. Whoopi Goldberg and Judge Jeanine Pirro, two towering figures with strong opinions, clashed in a televised showdown that left audiences speechless. So, how did this all begin? Let's get into it. Judge Jeanine Pirro, who you probably know as a sharp-tongued legal analyst and TV personality, was on The View to promote her book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, which, to be honest, takes some pretty direct shots at what she sees as anti-Trump conspiracies.
Whoopi got angry, and what the viewing audience, the television audience, didn't see is that they popped up the cover of my book as she pushed off the desk, unplugged her mic, and then stormed off the set. So I'm there saying, I'm in television. I said, I don't think this segment's over, but I think she just left, Jeanine. I think it's over. So I take off my own mic, and then you have to go down the stairs. Mm-hmm. I go down the stairs, and she's right there, and I said something like, Whoopi, I spent my whole life fighting for victims because we had talked about rapes and all that. And she said to me, as she got up in my face, and I read somewhere someone said, well, you should have kept walking. I couldn't walk by her. She was at the bottom of the stairs. She says, F you, F you. And then I said, did you just say F you? And then she said, get the F out of this building, get the F out of this building. So I'm there and I'm like, oh.
Now, at first, everything seemed relatively cordial. The co-hosts were polite, chatting about her career and whatnot, and it looked like it might just be another day at the office. But if you've ever watched The View, you'll know that with topics as fiery as politics, especially when Donald Trump is involved, things can take a turn real fast. As the conversation shifted to Trump, tension began to bubble under the surface. Sunny Hostin started pressing Pirro on her ties to President Trump. Have you ever lobbied for a position in his administration? She asked, her tone sharp. Judge Pirro, keeping her cool, replied, I've known the president for 30 years, and yes, we talk quite often, but I've never campaigned for a position. Okay, so maybe it wasn't explosive yet, but Whoopi and the other co-hosts weren't finished. When Whoopi joined the conversation, she didn't hold back. She grilled Pirro, questioning Trump's actions and what consequences there should be for leaders. This is where the atmosphere in the room sort of, shifted from tense to explosive. Judge Pirro fought back, insisting that accountability should apply across the board. I've spent my career fighting for justice, she declared, and what we need right now is truth, not spin. But things really got intense when Pirro mentioned something about Trump derangement syndrome, suggesting that some of Trump's critics may be overly fixated or obsessed. And that, folks, was the spark that ignited the inferno. Whoopi, visibly agitated and with fire in her eyes, responded fervently, I don't suffer from that. What I suffer from is seeing our country grow more divided each day. Her voice was firm and her passion unmistakable. And just like that, the conversation spun out of control. Voices overlapped, hands waved, and it became increasingly hard to hear anyone as both women stood firm in their positions. It wasn't just a clash of opinions or politics, it was an emotional encounter that seemed completely raw and real.
And you didn't do anything to provoke anybody there?
No, you can ask the people that I was with. I mean, she was nuts going off the set, and then when I walked down, and so as I started walking out the building, so this woman is yelling behind me, "Get the F out of this building!" I mean, look, I've been a prosecutor, judge, DA for 30 years. I try murder cases. I can go toe to toe with anybody, but that was abuse, and it was sad. It was a sad moment that she was triggered. And I never understood triggering.
Did she reach out to you afterwards and apologize? I know she apologized to the audience.
She apologized to the audience, not for what she did to me. And they had no idea what happened when I walked off this set.
You haven't heard from anyone from
a producer called, and yesterday it was nonstop radio and television. I was promoting the book. I haven't had a chance to return the call, but the producer did call.
In a dramatic moment that captured audience attention, Whoopi, clearly pushed beyond her limit, ripped off her microphone, slammed her cue cards down, and stormed off the set. Seriously, right in the middle of the live show, viewers were left stunned, watching in disbelief as Whoopi walked away. But just when you thought things couldn't get any more intense, the real drama unfolded behind the scenes. According to Judge Pirro, she encountered Whoopi once more as she was leaving the set. And oh boy, it sounds like things were anything but friendly. Judge Pirro later said that Whoopi confronted her face-to-face, reportedly yelling, "Get the F out of this building!" Pirro described the confrontation as unlike anything she'd ever faced in her decades-long career, claiming it was not just unprofessional, but outright abusive. The producers of The View later issued an apology to the audience, but not to Judge Pirro herself, leaving many to wonder if personal politics had influenced the show's atmosphere. Now, let's walk it back a little. Because, to be honest, this incident is more than just two people having a spat on TV. It's like a mini reflection of the larger debate about how we handle political discourse in today's society. On one side, you have Whoopi, visibly angry and protective of her beliefs. On the other, Pirro, who stood her ground with resilience. Some viewers sided with Whoopi, feeling her anger was justified given her frustration with current events. Others see Pirro as a victim of bias against conservative voices. This particular episode brought to light criticisms that have long plagued The View, with accusations that the show invites conservative guests only to put them on the hot seat. And for Pirro, what might have started as a book promo turned into what she described as an ambush. Is it possible for The View to be more inclusive in its discussions, or are such confrontations just part of the show's essence? Many of Pirro's fans felt the host was treated unfairly, emphasizing the need for more balanced exchanges of ideas. Some argue the real issue was the broader, divisive atmosphere that has seeped into talk shows and mass media in general. At the end of the day, it leaves us with lingering questions about the state of public discourse. Is it possible to disagree without sacrificing civility, without turning debates into verbal warfare?
So, I mean, what is this just, did they hate the president so much that you were the person, you've been a supporter of him, so they're coming at you?
Well, I certainly think that may be it. And, I tried to answer the question, just like you would answer the questions. And I said, it's another audience. It's the ability to at least talk about some of the good things that the president has done and the problems that I talk about in Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, which is the corruption at the highest levels of the Department of Justice and the FBI. And I have hundreds of footnotes in my book. It's an easy read. I mean, don't get scared by the footnote comment. But, I make it clear, it's clear what happened. Read the book. They didn't want to know.
I got a question.
Can we find a common ground where discussions are passionate but remain respectful? So, what do you think? Was Whoopi justified in her reaction, or did she cross a line? And what about Judge Pirro? Was she merely defending her viewpoint, or did she go too far with her comments? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Whether you agree or disagree with either side, it's crucial we continue fostering discussions that matter. Honest, open dialogue is more vital now than ever, and this channel is committed to keeping these conversations going.
I had a question for you. They're watching this over at ABC right now. If you were to look into camera one, what would you say to Whoopi Goldberg right now?
I guess I would say to Whoopi, I've always liked you, Whoopi, and I don't understand where the anger comes from. I went to have a conversation, and I wasn't allowed to have a conversation, and I didn't deserve to be thrown out. I really, we can't treat people like that. You just can't. We can disagree, but we need to be able to talk about it.